Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 267 at scavengerlife.com.
Okay, this week we are going to do some amendments.
Clarifications.
Yep, to our last podcast.
Yes.
Our last podcast seemed to have sparked a lot of debate, good debate, and, good questions and answers and all that. We talked about eBay. They gave us an actual, email where they said all the things we can do to improve.
Right.
And
improve our stagnant listings.
the reason why that was important is that these are things people have talked about, but no one had been able to actually give anyone any kind of evidence. Like,
right.
Where are you getting this information from? Why do you think this is? And even though some of their ideas might have been correct in some ways, we could start the conversation from here's what eBay says.
Right.
So if you haven't read that, go to our last podcast, and it's in the text of the podcast.
Yes.
And as you can read that email. That being said, it's not like they gave you a bullet point of exactly if you do this, you'll sell 1 million items. So
right.
We just want to clarify what we're doing with our as listings.
And why.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, this is not because we know any secrets. This is just how we're interpreting that email that they gave us.
Yes. So one of the things is eBay now gives you 12 photos for free. That was not always the case. So a lot of my listings just had one photo because I did one photo that they would give you for free. It was the gallery photo. And then I put all my photos embedded into the description. That is old school eBay. They have changed. So they want you to have at least, she said, 3.
Right. And you don't have to have all 12.
Right.
But she did say anything under 3, they tamp down in the search.
Which is hard because, if you're selling like a patch or a postcard, 2 photos max, you're like, what? I mean, you could figure something out for the third photo. But I do have some things that just have 2 photos, like a patch.
But in the future, though, we're going to make sure there are more, there are at least 3 photos.
At least 3, yeah.
Like, when I take pictures, I'll make sure I take 3 photos. I mean...
Do 3 photos.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing is, and this, I think, was the biggest bone of contention with people.
Yes.
And it's because I had made a mistake in the way I spoke on the last podcast. So, in that email that they gave us, they said not to use any JavaScript or actionable code.
Right.
Any code
like Flash.
Right.
Or things like that.
They say, and actually, we put a link, kind of an update, where they actually are very clear about that. Like next year, they're actually not going to allow any of that stuff even in the
description.
Description.
Will they end? They will end items.
They did say they would end items, but that seems like what they're pointing towards.
Yeah.
Because that kind of stuff can be, slow.
Yes, it slows
things down.
You can't see it on mobile a lot of times.
Right. So I had said no HTML.
Right.
And that was incorrect. Obviously, you can use HTML, but I guess what we really meant was for us is that we're just going to use plain text.
Right.
In the in the
description.
No more template, because a lot of our older listings had templates.
Yeah, it had templates, and part of my template too was like a header with links at the top plus CSS. Like it had a lot of code in it, and I'm like, it just doesn't need any of this code. It just needs plain text. Now, like we said, HTML is okay. Like I use bold and sometimes I use underline, and that's HTML code, and that's fine.
But I guess to be more clear though, we just felt that we had too much stuff going on where we were basically trying to build like a web page.
Yeah.
In the description where it felt like very I'm in a
professional.
Store. Yeah, it felt professional, and I think at one point it was good.
Yeah.
Now it's not, and mainly because of a mobile too. The other thing is, for those of you who don't know, I won't go into it, but the code didn't. It resized itself based on what people were looking at.
So we would get messages from people asking questions about things, and I'm like, it's in the description, and they're like, I can't read it on mobile. I can't see it on mobile. So it was like, okay, we have to change this.
Yeah. So that's just our choice. We're
Right.
choosing just to do plain text and as minimal as possible, but you don't have to not use HTML. It is okay. As far as we know. I mean, we should each be able to translate that, what eBay said.
Now, the other thing, too, is a lot of item specifics didn't exist when I was making these listings. So when I'm revising listings, there's a lot of item specifics that just weren't there before. And, like, the way they used to do colors was weird, was different. They would be like, blues, but what shade of blue do you have? And now it's just blue. Like, so you're like, I'm changing things like that. So when people are searching blue, mine comes up instead of it being blank. You want item specifics filled out. You want UPC codes if you have them filled out.
And that's actually really new.
That's
like
really new.
6 months
So
old,
crazy.
where they're basically now they'll end a listing if they think it needs a barcode.
Right, and you haven't said does not apply if you don't have a barcode. The other thing, too, that we should clarify is, since these listings are stagnant old listings, some of which, have one photo, I am ending them and selling similar, but I'm not going to make that part of what I do. Some people want to do that, and a lot of people have said, I do that all the time after 60 days. It works great. I'm all about list it and forget it still. I want my listings to be fresh. I want them to be mobile ready, but I do not think that I'm going to be, consistently ending listings.
Like some people say, every 30 days they end their listings and they re-list as something new.
Right.
And that's cool. Hey, if people want to do that, that's fine. I think for us, we're just kind of doing a reset on our whole store, and then we're going to go back to it list and forget.
Yeah.
That being said, we'll keep an eye on it. You know? As people bring data to the table, as we hear more from eBay, I mean, that's just, the way it is.
Right.
Because ultimately, we like to spend our time listing it's new items. That's where we think our business comes in, is just always feeding the beast rather than just like taking a small amount of items and just like continually
refreshing them.
Yeah, those small items.
Yeah.
And, ultimately, will this help? Well, it can't hurt. We're mainly doing it for ourselves.
I am doing it because I want my listings to be searchable. I want people to be able to find them. And I've heard a lot of people say, yeah, when I ended and sold similar, I would sell like 10 things overnight that I, relisted. I have not seen numbers like that, but I will say the last handful of things, 5 or 6 things that have sold, have been listings that I revised that were old.
Right. But, I mean, let's put it in perspective. Like, you probably redid 1,000 items. So
I've done like 1,800 because I did 1,000 and then I did like 800 this week.
I know. So I mean, just this past
week, yeah.
You done 800 and we sold 5 of those items. So
right.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Is it because they got it refreshed, or is it just it would have sold?
They would have sold it
because we did sell a couple things that were super old that we hadn't even touched.
That's true.
And those sold too.
Right.
So anyway, I mean, a lot of this stuff is you got to do it for you.
Right.
If it makes you feel good, if things are quiet, and you just want to feel like you're taking an action.
Yes.
It can't hurt.
Yes, it won't hurt. It will make things better, if anything.
The other thing too is actually someone on the blog. It's Brooklyn Procurement.
Yes.
Is its username. They said, keep your listing descriptions mobile friendly by only having 121 characters. Because that's before on the mobile app. After 121 characters, the description then gets cut off and there's a button where people have to hit more.
Yeah.
So if you want people just to see the entire thing, keep it to 121 characters.
Well, look, that speaks to not putting your title in your description.
Right.
Which is something I do all the time.
Why do you do that?
I don't know, because I feel like it makes it look better, but now I should just, from now on, just take the title out of the description.
Yeah.
Just start the description. Don't say the title again.
Yeah.
Oh, people, I'm learning.
And as it's mentioned before, eBay did spell some of the stuff out in the spring seller update. So that just came out a couple of months ago.
And we'll link to that.
And I'll put a link to it. And there's even an FAQ where they, kind of answer its questions that people are asking.
Yeah.
And let's remember too, some people were very good in the comments. Some other people that sell on eBay were very clear. Like, again, it depends on what you're trying to sell. If you're selling newish, retail arbitrage, very practical items, things that are, like made in China, and, that's what people want from Walmart. You probably have to be much more on top of this stuff, because if that stuff doesn't sell fast, it means that you're overpriced or there's a problem because there's so much competition.
Right.
If you're more like us and you're selling weird vintage items, I mean, you can do all the SEO that you want, and it can still take a long time for an item to sell because it's a long tail item.
Right.
So, ultimately what you're just trying to do is put up good quality stuff at a good price.
Right. Right. So the other clarification that we should make, and that there was controversy on, is the tracking sticker from USPS. A lot of people said it was actually not supposed to be used for letter mail, like a letter with just like a forever, 47-cent stamp on it.
And that's good, because the person that had sent us that link, we went to the a website, the post office website, and the tracking, stickers, it didn't say anything that this is not good for.
Yeah, it doesn't specify.
Envelope. It just says, you put this on things
you
that
get tracking.
That you mail. So, but I guess we should have called. I don't know, but people were very clear. It's actually not for a letter.
Basically, it's for when you walk in the post office and you have like a handwritten parcel, you stick that on it, so that's your tracking number. So you can, give that to eBay and you have a tracking number.
So it's more for people that don't ship at home.
Right.
Like probably 90% of people who are hearing this do.
Yeah.
If you're not, it's printing labels off of eBay, then, and you're just handwriting it and putting stamps on a package. Yeah. That's what those are good for.
It's like, it's for a little, a package, an actual package, like a little, air envelope, bubble envelope that you hand write to your grandma and you want tracking on it.
Right.
And you put stamps on the envelope.
So unfortunately, it does not solve the problem that we thought it solved, and that is, if you ship things in just an envelope that has a stamp on it, a single stamp,
right?
Like a postcard or something, right? You still have to pay that extra cost to get the tracking. So sorry, guys.
Yeah, so that's. Basically, it's not supposed to work that way. It seems to be working that way for someone, and it's incorrect, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. So we are very glad that people take the time to, come and fact check. We try and do our best, but again, we're not like some kind of news service here. We're just people that are trying to pass on info. But, we do like it when people do correct us to just come with updated facts, so links are good, things like that.
Absolutely. Yes, it very much helps to have information to correct that information.
Okay, so this is a good segue into what we did for eBay. It's this week.
Yes,
it's revising.
Yep.
And so you did 800 of them.
I did 800 listings. And
And I just looked, and we have almost 800 more to do.
Oh my god. So that's really going to eat up 3 weeks of my time.
Yeah.
Good God.
How does it make you feel?
It's okay. It's just like, okay, so yesterday was Friday. By Friday afternoon, I was like, I'm fried. Like, I can't look at my computer anymore. I'm going crazy.
I mean, we talked about, though, like, if you want to take a break and do something else, I mean, switch it up. Just as long as it's nowhere. It needs to get started again,
Well, we do have a bunch of books to send into Amazon, which we'll talk about, but and shoes. You've been processing shoes like crazy, women's shoes, men's shoes, and I could just start listing those, and do a fresh,
I mean, again, that's how we do our business for the most part. Is there's so many different things to do.
Yes,
and other than having to ship items when they're supposed to be shipped, there's really no deadline for
Yes.
anything else. So
it's just your own.
Right.
Like with these revising, I'm like
you're
obsessed.
Obsessed.
No, I wake up like the other day. I was like, I'm up at 4:30, like doing all this ridiculous stuff on the computer, and I was like, I'm just gonna start because what else? Like,
Well,
you know,
I mean, you know, part of it is I get it. Like, you know, I'm like, I have 120 pairs of shoes. I'm going to do them all instead of just 20 pairs of shoes and then go on to something else. However, that being said, you know, there have been times where I bite off more than I can chew, and I have to like, and what can happen is I get paralyzed.
Yes.
I'm like,
you don't want to do it.
I want to do this whole thing, but now I'm paralyzed, and then I might even waste a couple days because I want to do it, but I just can't do it.
You're procrastinating.
So what I do now, and I'm getting better, is that the moment I start feeling paralyzed, I switch.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, instead of doing that,
That's good.
I'll do this.
Yeah.
I can always go back to that.
Like, I think that was yesterday afternoon, and it was good because we actually had to go clean the farmhouse, so that was my breaking point. I was like, okay, I'm done. But honestly, it feels good to revise, and then something sells, and I'm like, I just revised that. That's great.
Yep.
Like this really old book that we had, this whittling book, it just sold. I'm like, how long have I had that? And I just revised it the other day. So,
and plus, we got a good price for it, like
$36.99.
Yeah,
that book.
You know, got it for a quarter.
Yeah, it was awesome. So, you know,
Long tail.
I will say this though, it is important, like you said, to switch it up so that you don't get burnt out.
Yeah.
Like I was on the edge yesterday, and thank God we had something else we had to do, or else I'd be like, okay, I gotta like do something else. But it's good to switch it up because that's the beauty of the business we have. There's always something to do, and you can do those things at any time.
And that being said, sometimes the answer isn't switching it up to like another piece of work. Sometimes it's switching it by, let's watch a movie.
Let's do something else. Let's go for a walk. Let's play the Pokemon.
Take a nap.
I did take a nap one time this week.
Don't you think that I'm very good at encouraging you to take breaks, right?
To take a break, yeah. But I'm too obsessive sometimes. I'm like, no, I have to keep working. Yeah. Although I do like to take a nap sometimes.
It's good.
Well, there were 2 days that I woke up really early. One was at 4:30, one was at 6. And I definitely had to take a nap one time.
Power naps are good.
Yeah.
So this past week, like Ryan said, I did 120 pairs of men's shoes.
Yeah.
I'm actually just about done. I'll probably finish.
I should list
this weekend. And that's just because we had this huge pile of shoes, and so it took me 2 weeks. I did 120 pairs of women's shoes.
Nice.
It's last week.
We got to go put them away now. Put them in storage.
Yeah, it was good.
But we have room, so.
But I've been really getting into, I work in the house, and Ryan works in her office.
Yeah.
So Ryan actually has AC over there, so that's awesome.
I am very conservative about my AC.
But you're allowed to do AC. It's
I know.
Good. I don't have AC in the house, and it does get hot, but I have a fan on. But what I do have is Netflix.
Yes, you do.
So I've actually been really getting into just watching just documentaries.
Anything.
It's like all the stuff I would never, normally watch, except on like an airplane.
But the great thing about Netflix is there's so much stuff to watch. It's like, oh, I wouldn't normally watch this. So what? It's in the background. Like you're listening to it. It's almost like a podcast,
So I've really been enjoying that. Okay, Amazon FBA. So this week we actually really had a decent week. It was we didn't really sell a lot on Prime Day.
Prime Day makes me laugh because Prime Day was on Tuesday, and I was like, yeah, Prime Day. Well, by the end of the day, I was like...
We sold 2 things.
I'm sure
there are other people who did really, really well.
Yeah.
Again, we just had a lot of long tail items, so, I don't expect...
We sold a couple long tail items, so that was good.
But we had a good week overall. And this is just stuff. We have about 700 items that are now in the warehouse. And this is all just stuff we found for cheap.
A lot of books.
This isn't retail arbitrage. It's just stuff that we could sell on eBay, but we're trying to sell it on Amazon. And what I've been doing is since we've learned how to do FBA, I've been keeping my eye out for lots of stuff with barcodes.
Yeah.
Like of the same thing.
A box of something. Yeah, quantity.
So I went to a thrift store this past week, and I saw a box of door lock sets.
Yeah, it was like entrance door levers with a twist lock.
And they were, like the boxes were a little scuffed and had some writing on them.
Yeah.
But they were mostly new.
New. Every single one was new except one.
They weren't the exact same lock or handle.
Oh, in every one.
But they're close.
Yeah.
But, I got them like for $4 and we'll maybe sell them for $25, I hope.
And and so the cool thing about it, and I like sending stuff in and having them deal with everything, like storage and shipping.
Right.
That's the good thing about it.
Right.
But yeah.
But the dream though is we go to an auction and there's like a pallet of like one item.
Right.
All brand new. Like some store went out of business.
200 of one thing.
And it's 200, 500 of one thing. So then you just go to Amazon, you scan it, and you send them all in.
And no one else at the auction wants it.
Like that's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But you know what? Look, I enjoy doing books. We sell books.
I really think that's in the people who talk on the blog about doing FBA. I really seem to relate to those book people.
Right. Yeah, I do too. I think it's a good thing to sell.
Because it's the best. It's value.
It's the best value.
Books are relatively cheap.
If you can find them as cheap as possible.
Right.
They mostly all of them have ISBN numbers, so you just type it right in.
And it does take it's knowledge.
Sure.
Of like what kind of books are good to go for. Because if you're just in front of a big wall of books, you can totally just go and scan every single one of them. But I bet the people that do really well with books can visually scan a row of books
and see what
pull out the ones that are probably.
I feel like I'm starting to get that way a little bit, but I'm sure there's stuff that I'm missing.
Yep. And also the good thing about books is those are the ones that no one seems to return. Like when
I never had a book return.
It's like when people buy books, they seem to just keep them, as long as it doesn't come falling apart,
And we underdo the condition. Like if it's if it's new, it's new. But if it's good, I just say it's good instead of like very good. Right. I'm just like it's better. You want people to get it better than what you say almost.
So we were at one of our favorite thrift stores this week.
Yeah.
And, so while Ryan's playing Pokemon in the store. I'm like, Ryan.
I was like, I'm not shopping. I got to catch this little werewolf.
Like Ryan, that's fantasy. Like the Pokemons are the expensive books. Yeah. Like that's what. So anyway, I was really going through the books because I was having a good time. And I found like, it's like one of those times when you're trying to find stuff and you see it and you're like, I just found it. I
found it all. I found the treasure.
Gold mine. And someone had donated 2 big boxes. They're like D&D books. They're like it's role-playing games, but it's more contemporary. It's for like vampires and werewolves.
Yeah. It's like a different version.
Super creepy covers.
Yeah, like really... Like if you think D&D's weird, this is like way beyond that.
I played D&D as a kid, so I was all into it. But it was perfect. They were almost all in new shape, and I think it could be $1,000. It's worth a books.
It's so funny because we were shopping and you were making fun of me because I was really bored that night. I was like, I'm not finding anything, although I did find an amazing t-shirt that I'll talk about later. And I had to leave early because I had to go to like some community meeting at the same time. So I was like, okay, bye. And like right as I was leaving, you're like, I just found these amazing books. Like you're so bored. And I'm
because we know this thrift store very well.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about going to like, having thrift stores that are yours. You know, like where they feel like yours. And we go there every week. And I know every inch of that place, and I can always tell when there's something new.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So this was it. Someone had put a new box of books. It was in the corner behind some toys.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is it.
Yeah, those are really good.
I was so psyched. And those are perfect for sending into Amazon. So we're going to send them all in. And, we'll see.
No, I have the stack of them in my office, so I'll get my little barcode scanner out and my Dymo 450.
So let's talk about that real quick. We want to thank Vic for teaching us how to print one label at a time.
Scan and label. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
And it's just right on Amazon. No extra apps, no subscription fees.
Yeah, there's a process to it, but once you get the process down, I really would love to make a screencast of it if I have time to do it. Because it's really easy, and it's a lot better than just doing it in a huge batch.
So that being said, so doing labels one by one versus scanning all of them, printing out big sheets of labels, and then going through and putting labels on. Do you think it cuts down half the time?
I don't think it's half the time. I think it's like a third. It cuts a third out.
Okay, cool.
I would say it cuts a third out.
Got it.
Yeah. And look, I've been lucky lately because I've been sending in shipments. I sent in a big book shipment, and I sent in a bunch of like random items. They have been sending my stuff to the same place. They have not been breaking up my shipments like to 4 different places. So I don't know why that's happening. It's very helpful.
Yep.
When they are like, send it to Kentucky. I'm like, great. That's so much easier.
And then the other thing is, it's just see. Last thing on FBA is, when we started, before we started selling on Amazon FBA, I would watch the people who talk about it on YouTube and talk about how great it is, and I was always very skeptical. And people would come on the blog like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's great. It's so much better. It's truly list it and forget it because you mail it in.
Yeah.
And so, we were like, okay, well, let's try it out. I mean, I can't keep complaining about it if we don't try it.
If I don't know.
And now that we're trying about it, it's not bad, but there are issues, and we've talked about those. It's interesting. All the people that said how great it is have kind of disappeared, and now, we get the people who sell on FBA or sell on Amazon, and we can have an open conversation about some of the pros and cons, and it seems like there are a lot of cons with selling on Amazon, and I find a lot of people are saying they love eBay, because it's more like...
it's more seller friendly with returns. A seller has
a little bit more rights when it comes to returns.
Yep.
You can list anything.
The fees aren't as high.
And I've been having several people say that they've been selling on Amazon, but not FBA, but merchant fulfilled, because then I guess that gives you a little more control over returns.
Right.
And Amazon doesn't take as many fees because they're not doing the pick and pack and all that stuff.
Sure.
So,
and you don't need a pro account.
It's interesting. And before we were doing FBA, we were doing it's merchant fulfilled to try it out. But
we didn't sell very much.
We didn't have a lot put up. So
that's true.
Maybe we didn't have enough up there, but we sold very little on a merchant fulfilled.
Look, I like sending stuff in because I like people who have Prime to be able to buy it.
Right.
And that's who you're trying to hit.
So, again, we're doing the experiment on FBA, and really the real experiment will be what it's going to be like during the holidays.
Right.
So that's what we're doing now, is just bulking up our store.
Yeah.
Just to see how the holiday season...
We started in February.
Right.
So we haven't done fourth quarter yet. So.
Because it's curious, we are sending in a lot of weird, long tail stuff.
But that stuff sells. The good thing is we've seen those things sell.
Right, but I'm just wondering if that stuff is going to fly off the shelves during the Christmas season. It's like people that sell toys, and they're kind of on the top of current trends.
Right.
We're not trying to be on top of trends. We're just sending in it's whatever we find for cheap.
Exactly.
We're scavengers, Ryan.
Yeah, we're scavenging. We find what we find.
Okay, and then just one last thing before we get into our numbers. We started this podcast March of 2013.
I can't believe it. So it's been over 3 years.
Yeah.
3.5 years.
Feels like it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And, we were just trying to make a podcast for something we were looking for. Like at that time, I don't know if a YouTube... I don't know how far back people were posting stuff on YouTube, but we didn't really hear people talk about the daily, day in, day out of selling on eBay.
Right.
Not like tips and tricks, but more just like, what's the daily process?
Like, what's it like every day?
So, because kind of put a flag in the ground and we posted a manifesto.
Yes.
And
our Scavengers manifesto.
And if you go to our blog, it's Scavenger Life, you can read that. It's manifesto, and we haven't really changed it since then. And what we tried to do is make it real simple, and that is like put 500 items as fast as possible. Don't do auctions. Only do buy it now with its make offer.
Yep.
And the key to success is to just list, to list and forget it.
Yep.
And then that's how you're able to make enough it's money to make a living, because if you have a big enough inventory and you fill that pipeline. So that's been it's manifesto. So my question to you is, so that's been 3 years since we wrote that.
Right.
So has that changed? Has the landscape changed? Are there more people selling on eBay now, so it throws that out of whack? Has eBay changed where that doesn't make sense? I mean, we enjoy being part of like this large, diverse group of people who are selling for all kinds of reasons, and they're selling in all different kinds of ways. So my question is, if you had to write a manifesto, what would it be?
Right.
I'm not asking you, Ryan. I'm asking the people hearing.
You just read my manifesto. Yeah. Right. So, like, what are your bullet points? Like, what is your strategy in a few bullet points? That's kind of what we were doing. Like, this is how we do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right.
And I find that I wanted to ask this question to people because on our last podcast, when we were saying how we're updating listings, people were coming on and like, I sell in this way.
Right.
And this is what I think is important. And it's kind of, the conversation kind of starts drifting off because I feel like I need to see people like boil down their strategies in just to 5 bullet points. Like keep it real simple.
Yep.
Like you're talking to someone just starting out.
Right.
And I think that would be really valuable.
It's
for me. Like
absolutely.
anytime I interview a person for the podcast.
Yeah.
You guys know how I do it. I walk them through its process.
Right.
Because basically I'm trying to learn from them.
Yeah.
What are they doing? It's differently from us. What works better than us?
I mean, we've learned so much stuff over the last 3.5 years from other sellers, how they do stuff.
Right. Because, I mean, in case it's not clear, we don't know what the way is.
Right.
We don't try and sell a program. It's not about that. But we always felt like it was good to start the podcast with a manifesto.
Yeah.
To kind of say, this is where we're starting out at.
This is how we're doing it.
And this is where we are. We're on this hill, and then people can come. And it took about 3 years to people to actually start commenting. It's only been in the past a year and a half. Oh, sorry.
3 years, no.
It took about a year and a half before we started really attracting comments on the blog. And, and it's really flowered now. And I find that now there's such a diverse group of people, Right.
Doing it all different ways. And I think that that's important because that means all of us can... I really honestly think of this as a big experiment. I mean, we do have a manifesto, okay? But we're always willing to try something different because we're like, maybe that will work. There's no one answer. And
I was feeling like maybe in our manifesto, we need to like add what I hate to say it, but I think it's a good its word, and that's what our equation, like what are we trying to accomplish?
Good.
Like this manifesto is important because we're trying to do X.
Yeah.
And what it is, our ultimate goal is simply to own our own time. Yep. Like that's the most important thing for us. So we need to make its money to own our own time. But in our equation, there can come a point where by us making more money, it could take away from our time because it takes more time to make more money. And then the money isn't worth it.
Right.
Whereas other people, their equation could be, I'm trying to make $1 million.
Right.
Like, I don't care about it's my time. I need money.
This money, yeah.
Like, I could imagine if I was 16.
Yeah.
In 2016.
Right.
If I was 16. When you're young, you're obsessive.
You're energetic.
You have nothing but time.
Yeah.
I could see that person's equation being like, I want $1 million by the time I'm 25.
Right.
And then I'll just retire
Yeah.
and not have to work
Exactly.
anymore. That's much different from us.
16-year-olds, listen up.
So anyway, that's it. Just if you want to share your manifesto, it's with us. Just go to our blog and you can see how we did ours, and just do it like in under 5 bullet points, and either post it on the blog, or you can also call in and tell us, maybe write it down so it's not too rambly.
Right.
And we'll play it on
Yeah,
there.
I would love to hear it. I would love to hear that. I think also, the reason we did that manifesto is because we didn't hear about anyone doing this. We were just like, this is what we're doing. Is anyone else doing this? Who's doing this?
Yep.
Let's talk about it. Is it working? Yeah, absolutely. So it's great to hear from other people.
All right, let's do the numbers.
Let's get real here.
Let's do the numbers.
How's the manifesto working in real life?
So, relatively quiet, but we chugged along. We made about $1,400 total across all of our stores.
That's better than it has been.
And remember, too, we do this on a Saturday, so there's still stuff is still selling today, so numbers could change. But this is basically what we made. On our first store, on our main store, we made about $800. On our second eBay store, we made about over $200.
A little over $200.
But let's say about $200. And then on Amazon, after all the fees, I kind of figured out a way to kind of calculate that, even though Amazon
roughly calculate.
Easy.
Yep.
We made a little over $400.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not nothing.
It's good. So things we sold this week, we sold some more software, old vintage software manuals.
Yes, we sold old vintage software manuals for a Sun 286 computer
For $70.
for $70.
And this was stuff that we got for free, again, from a yard sale. We got all these tubs of old books and software and stuff like that. And
the guy just wanted to get them out.
Ryan had
a vision.
A vision.
And I keep selling them, and
Something
they're
else
almost
we
gone.
sold were these vintage garters. And these are men's
sock garters. Look,
way before my time.
Before they had elastic socks where, athletic socks where you just pull them up.
Right.
They weren't like that. Socks were made out of nylon, and you had to put this garter around it to keep your socks
It was
up.
around at your calf.
Yeah.
Like men's, and it would hold up like men's socks.
For some reason we had a pair.
So this was me.
Where'd you get those?
It was my, we got it at some estate sale.
Yeah.
And we sold it for $40.
40, but they were so nice and they were cool.
Yeah, they were really unused, and I don't know if they sold that much just because there aren't a lot of them
They're
out there.
rare.
But anyway, it's one of those long tail items. We've had it for a while, but $40, it's awesome.
We sold a Hard Rock Cafe hat from Amon Jordan for basically $50.
Yep.
That's a great hat.
Yeah.
You gotta love hat sales that are $50.
Yeah, I mean, so there are some people on the blog that seem to specialize in hats.
Right.
But any of us can go and you can buy boxes of hats for cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just out there. And some guys are it's just they're all $20. They're all $19.99.
Right.
It doesn't matter what.
Sure.
Just in and out.
Yep.
And they seem to do well. We're kind of on the other side where we actually make a judgment or a gut call, or we do its research.
Yeah.
And if a hat looks special, we're willing to put a high price on it and hold on to it.
Yep.
So, it's that slow dime, fast nickel.
Yeah, slow dime.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, just some hats I really feel are worth more, so I put higher prices. I'm like, that's a rare hat.
Yep.
Okay, so another thing that sold for $50, great sale, was a set of eyeglasses frames. And that was a newly revised item. Actually, that Hard Rock Cafe hat was newly revised as well.
Nice.
So the glasses frames, someone, he wrote to me and he was like, I broke my frames yesterday. I need them ASAP. I was like, great, I'm shipping them right now.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if they were the exact same kind, and that's why
they might have been. I mean,
we sold two. These are two individual sales, but they were vintage playing cards, and together they sold for about $70.
Yeah, and what's so funny is I cannot remember the last time I sold any playing cards. And I revised these listings and they sold, so
Yep.
that made me happy.
It's good.
Yeah.
We sold another atlas, those like big, heavy map atlases.
Yeah.
We sold it for $40.
Look, what's funny is we mentioned that this atlas. I was like, oh, it's an atlas from 1944 that shows Germany. The German flag was the Nazi flag, and then that one sold like the next day. So that was kind of funny.
We sold a bathroom. We sold a bathroom fixture.
Yes.
For it's $50.
It was a shower diverter. It was a really fancy high-end brand.
And this was something we had actually sent into Amazon because it was perfect. It was unused. It was still in the box. But someone sent it back. It's like one of those really painful returns because it's so much it's money. And there was no conversation about it. So we put it on eBay and it sold.
Yeah, so we were happy to get that back from Amazon and resell it. Another thing that sold that was cool was a vintage LL Bean sweater made in the USA, bought by someone at LL Bean headquarters in Freeport, Maine.
And it sold for $55.
It's a great price.
And that I'm sure this happened to other people here who are hearing this, but you know, these people that work at companies, I mean, it's not like a mystery where they get their inspiration or their new lines of clothes. Oftentimes, they just look back and they buy from eBay
either stuff from their company.
Either their own company or from other companies, and they probably, you know, borrow a certain look, a certain style, or it's whatever.
Or they're trying to archive some of their stuff. I feel like sometimes they're like, well, we want to get a collection of stuff from, you know, the early 80s, which is cool now, like you said, so let's go on eBay and find it. And that's a great sale.
Yep.
I do want to say something that I found that I haven't sold yet. So the Republican National Convention's about to start, right? So I'm at the thrift store, and like I said, I was bored. So I go through the t-shirts. I look through the t-shirts all the time. And so I find this shirt. It's like this 1980s like thin cotton shirt with an iron-on, sparkly iron-on logo of an elephant with an American flag, and underneath it says Republican.
Yeah.
I was like, that's perfect.
Is Ryan, like, this is going to be a good example of, like, why don't we see how it plays out?
Yeah.
I am not that excited about it. I mean, I think it's kind of cool, but Ryan's like, it's going to sell for $200. We'll see.
We don't know. I said I'd overnight it to Cleveland.
I'm not really sure if the people going to the Republican National Convention are trying to be
cool and
funny
vintage
and ironic. I think that they're all in suits, but, you know.
Yeah, that's
we'll
true.
See.
We'll see. But anyway, I thought it was a funny find to find that right now.
Okay, customer issues. So we had none. I mean, for a little while now, a good chunk of time, we've had no returns, no trouble customers. I mean, and this reminds me, though, is that kind of stuff seems to happen in waves.
Yeah.
Like, you'll get one, it's returned, and suddenly there's like 4 in a row, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
You know? So
right now, it's okay.
It's good.
We'll just see.
And then some news.
We talked about Trash Elves who made a website called where'sthecoupon.com, which helps you find your eBay coupon for buying shipping supplies.
And his name is David Hall, is the one that it's made it. And the cool thing is that people were going to it, and then someone told David, why don't you have like a form where I can put my email in, and then you send me an email automatically right when the thing happens.
Which is great because it's great to look
it.
at the website, but you're not going to check the website all the time.
I'd forget to look
I need an alert.
Right, and so it's an alert. So anyway, I put my email in.
Yeah.
So I guess next quarter I'll get an automatic email that says you're ready to rock, and here's a link. Click here and go for it.
It's really helpful. Thank you for doing that.
And you know that being said, you know things we were learning in the comments. People were saying that eBay was calling them to notify them that there was a coupon, and were walking them through the process. And I actually got one of those phone calls.
You did?
Well, I mean, both of us did, but I'm the one that answered it.
You didn't tell me that until right now.
It wasn't that exciting. I mean, she was just like, I want to walk you through the steps. I was like, I've already done it.
I already bought my supplies.
And she was like, okay, great. But it's good that eBay is doing that. I mean, it's kind of weird they're doing it they're in their second quarter.
Why didn't
now.
they do it for the first quarter?
But I'm like, instead of, can you imagine if they're actually calling every subscriber? I mean, that must be crazy. Why not just build a website like David did?
Right.
And then set up automatic alerts. Or why not just add automatic alerts to anyone that has a subscription already?
Who's getting a coupon.
But
there's so many things.
I'm glad, though, that eBay is doing it. I really feel like Amazon. So when I'm sitting here in my chair thinking about Amazon, I feel like I'm standing in front of like the giant black orb. It's like this floating orb.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, there's like no transfer of energy.
It's like the Death Star.
That's what it is. I'm not negative about that. It's just like a neutral thing, and it's just it's what it tells me to do, and there's no conversation. I feel like with eBay, it's just like a giant a village, like sprawling, huge, a village with different parts, and the parts don't always talk to each other, but it's full of people, and it feels very people oriented.
Right.
But that it's totally chaotic and crazy, and you know, that's just kind of how it feels to me, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, what our coming week will be like. Ryan,
I have nothing to say.
Are you interested in what I'm going to do?
You all know what I'm going to do.
So I still have a lot of stuff to go through. We have a lot of things, piles to do, but I'm getting through them. What I'm going to do is, we now have a box when we go out and scavenge. Yes. We now put everything in this one box, so it doesn't become a death pile. This becomes like, it's what I do. So the past 2 weeks I've been doing shoes, and those were death piles. Now I'm going to tackle the stuff that we've bought over the past couple of weeks, and that will be us keeping up.
Yeah.
You know? Instead of it, you know, just getting shoved into a corner, I'll do all this stuff now. And so that might take me all week right there.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but it's good.
It's good stuff, though. And I'll be revising listings.
Although, it's like we said, if you want to, you know...
Yeah, I can take a break, list some shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it all has to get done as long as you're doing it. And that's a big thing. As long as neither of us are paralyzed.
Right.
As long as
at least something's getting done. Yep. Exactly. Okay, so let's listen to some voicemail calls. You can always call us on our voicemail line. You have 3 minutes to leave a message. We will never pick up the phone. It is a Google voicemail number, and the phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. My name is Victor Jones from Tehachapi, California. I had a question. I know you guys just got into FBA. My question is, when you're out scanning items, say books or whatever else, do you just use your phone for the barcode, or do you have one of those PDA scanners and use a software like Profit Bandit or Needle Scan? I think it's Needle Scan, something like that. That's my question. Thanks.
Okay, so since we are scavengers and we are super cheap, we just use our phones.
Yeah, I mean, we will invest in equipment and maybe a service if it really feels like it's going to give us our money's worth. But we just use our phone in the Amazon app. So
yeah, the Amazon seller app.
Yeah. And I also use the Amazon Flow app, which allows you to actually just scan the cover of the book.
Right. If something doesn't have an ISBN or something like that.
Some people say that the Flow app is built into its seller app, but if I open up its seller app and just try and like scan the cover of a book, it gives me a warning that says please scan barcode. It doesn't work for me. So, but to go back to what you're talking about, so we just use the seller app with the barcode, and you know, it's definitely much slower than if we had like some PDA or special app, you know, to go through hundreds of thousands of books
really fast.
We're smaller, you know.
Now that's for research when we're out like buying stuff, but when I am at home, I do have a barcode scanner. It's just a handheld, like honestly, it was the cheapest USB scanner I could buy on eBay, because I was like, I don't know if I'm doing this for real. I'm just going to start cheap. So I use that for scanning books in when I'm, you know.
Right, and people hearing this that sell books on FBA who are like big time, like super book people, I mean, they're probably laughing at us. They're the kind of people that go to those book sales
Right.
and they spend all day just scanning thousands of books, and they
Right.
want to go as fast as they can. So the app or the subscription is totally worth it for them.
Right.
We just haven't hit that point.
Yeah, we're just not that big.
We're all about try and do everything as cheap as possible until you hit that point where it's worth it to spend the money because it's more
right, sure. It's more efficient, yeah.
Hi, guys. This is Bill, a fellow Virginian. Selling on eBay. I'm a part-time seller. Love listening to you guys. Listen to those weekly shows on Monday. Question. I was just interested in your opinion on an app that I discovered called SnapPost, which in essence, you take pictures of your eBay items. Currently, there isn't a cost for this at all. Basically, you send your items. You might put anything that you'd like it listed in the description there. They basically do the whole listing for you and submit it to you for your approval. And if you want something changed, for example, a price, they could do that for you. I find it works out great because obviously having a full-time job and trying to do the reselling, time is of essence, and it's very difficult to get things in on a regular basis. I find it works for me. Just curious if you guys, I'm sure you have some knowledge of it, and see what your thoughts on this are. Thanks again. Appreciate all the knowledge you bring to the reselling community. Have a great day.
So yeah, we actually have heard of SnapPost. We actually kind of know, we have an email relationship with a woman that started it. She, it sounds cool. Sounds like a fun idea. And there are other kinds of services like that where you can, get someone to help you list if you send them photos.
Like a virtual assistant.
Yeah, some
thing.
people even just, hire a virtual assistant and they do their own process.
Right.
I mean, if it works for you, that's cool. I think, and we even tried eBay at Valet once.
Yeah.
Like, you can send it in for free. And
they
then,
take a percentage.
And then they just take a percentage of anything that sells, and anything that doesn't sell, they mail back to you for a small cost.
Right.
I mean, we just had never really found it that successful because what they say is, send us your iPhone, fancy designer shoes.
Yes.
I mean, they want stuff that's easy to sell.
And it's easy for you to sell.
That's going to sell
stuff.
fast. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to hear people's opinions. Like, can't you just go to like a yard sale and get like 2 big trash bags of just like kind of random clothes and send those in and not do any work and just get a big paycheck? I just don't feel like it works like that.
Although I think the thing with SnapPost is they just do your listings for you. I don't think you send it in or anything.
True. That's right.
They're taking out that part that a lot of people hate, which is listing.
And, the fact that they don't charge right now is, I'm assuming they're just in that period where they're just trying to get a reputation and get the word out. At some point, they're going to have to find a way to make some kind of income.
Yeah, there's got to be a monetization there.
But I don't know. I mean, I think stuff like that is cool. I think that's more kind of built for people who, are not... They aren't people full time trying to sell on eBay. Right. They're just cleaning out their closet, and they're like, I don't want, like, I could donate it and not make anything.
Right.
Or I could have these other people
list it for me,
sell it for me, and then I'll just at least make something.
Right.
But I don't really care how much I make, that kind of thing.
Well, it'll be interesting to hear how they scale up, if they scale up.
Hey there, Jay and Ryan. This is Derek. And I had a general question for you guys, not necessarily having to do with eBay, but you always talk about how when you hope that we are listening to your podcast when we are listing. I was just wondering, what do you guys listen to when you're listing? I know that you guys have talked about having some Netflix on in the background, but I'm curious if you guys listen to any other podcasts, even about eBay or about whatever else. All right, thank you. I will talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, so Ryan, why don't you go first?
Okay, so when I'm over in my office, I am like a hardcore like news and like politics junkie. Like that's what I listen to.
Basically,
I listen to the news.
It's like an NPR girl. Right?
Oh, like NPR, BBC, that's all I listen to. If I'm listening to a podcast, it's probably an NPR podcast about the Supreme Court. Right. Like it's really just like I'll listen to music sometimes when, like, look, the last week of news was horrendous in every respect. Like, eventually I had to be like, I have to listen to music because I'm getting like super freaked out here. So those are the I listen to when I listen to music, I listen to KCRW's Eclectic 24. It's like a 24-hour stream of just interesting music. All different kinds of music, and I listen to that a lot, actually, when I just want to, like, relax and not have to listen to the news. But I listen to the news a lot.
Yeah, and I was kind of the same way, or, you know, I like just, especially when I'm listening, I like listening to kind of, like, current events talked about in an intelligent way.
Yeah.
Although recently, I've been listening to, number one, Harmontown
podcast.
I don't know if any of you guys know. So Dan Harmon, the guy that made Community, he now has like a podcast. It's great because sometimes they're like
2 hours long.
2 hours long, so it's like really long. Now I've got to say, it's definitely super not safe for work. If you get easily offended, don't listen to it. Some of it's ridiculous and like I just think it's interesting.
Look, they're comedians and writers, so they just like it's no holds barred. They talk about anything and everything.
And then the other thing I've been talking about is that I've been watching Netflix.
Yeah, and
a lot of that came from when I interviewed Nandri, the teen thrifter.
Yeah,
and she said she would just turn on its Netflix in its background, and I was like,
watch a show.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
like
and what's even better is like. The thing about Netflix, too, that's great, number one, you can watch it on your computer, too, but I'm super distracted by, like, movies and shows, because I'll just, like, watch the whole thing. I can't get any work done. That's why, for me, I have to listen to stuff. I can't have visual stuff. But the cool thing about Netflix is you can put some stuff on that, you like you said, you wouldn't normally watch it. Like, okay, let's take an example. House of Cards. I'm going to watch every frame of that show. I'm not putting that on in the background, but maybe some other, like, a documentary that, like, about a subject that I don't know anything about, that could be on in the background, you know, so.
Yeah, but you know what? We're always interested in things other people hear, so if there's something new, you know, go ahead and put it in the comments and we'll check it out.
Yeah, I'm always interested to hear.
It's one thing that I can't really do is people in YouTube. You know, like we're on YouTube, but it's basically just audio. I get very distracted when I'm watching a YouTube. It's video and it's just people talking.
Yeah, I find like I have to look at their face. Yeah.
So it's one thing I can't do.
Yeah.
Hey guys, this is Jane. I'm a scavenger down in North Carolina, and I'm calling to further complicate your conversation about the eBay quarterly coupon for shipping supplies. And to tell you that I did receive a message from eBay alerting me to my coupon. It was within eBay messages, and the only difference I can really guess is that I'm a relatively new store owner. I have a basic store, but somehow I'm in the queue to get a form email. It's basically just your quarterly coupon is here, ship in style and save, and it's got a lot of the details and the fine print at the bottom that you guys really had to dig for. So I guess I would just encourage you to inquire further about why folks who've had a store longer aren't in the queue to get an email, because it seems like it might be an oversight or something. Anyway, just wanted to let you know, and many, many thanks for all y'all do. Bye.
So yeah, that's interesting. You know, it's like we said earlier, it seems like eBay is trying to reach out, which is a really good sign. And maybe like as you said, because you're new, when you signed up, you maybe automatically checked a box that said send me alerts. And maybe those of us that have had stores for a long time, eBay doesn't want to do a push notification without us opting in. So maybe there's a way to go and look and see if there's like a checkbox we have to go to get that.
Yeah, I mean, I just did not get a single message. I mean, clearly Jay just told me that they called and told us about it, but really a message, you know, just a simple inbox message through email would have been fine.
Cool. But thanks for calling, and shout out to North Carolina, our neighbor.
Yeah.
Hey guys. This is Jeff from Southern California. I listen to all your shows. You guys are awesome. I'm listening right now while I'm actually cleaning some books. And this is why I'm calling. I actually just opened a book a few minutes ago, and there was $200 bills on the first page of the book. Obviously, I didn't look through the book that I got at a garage sale when I picked it up. $200 bills, and the book was for real estate investing in triplexes and duplexes or something like that. So obviously they're not that great with their money. But I just wanted to know what kind of things you guys have found and stuff that you've found out there. Over the years, I've been doing this probably 15 years or something off and on. And I've found a few dollars here and there and maybe a jacket or something like that, but nothing more than just a few dollars. This is the first time I ever found something this huge, $200 bills, and they're real. So I'm so excited. Anyway, yeah, let me know what kind of strange things you found. I mean, I've found other things like personal videos, and even found somebody had a 5-minute sex tape on a computer they sold me one time. So I've found some interesting things like that, or strange things. But, yeah, very, very rarely I find money. Let me know how you guys did, and have a great time, and keep making the shows. I love them. Bye.
Yeah, so he actually sent us a photo of the $200 in the book, so we'll actually post that on the blog.
2 crisp $100 bills that he found.
And you know what? I've heard that. I mean, maybe that's like a generational thing, like this idea of like hiding cash in books. It's like I've heard of that. Like people will like, you know, I guess for emergencies or something. And I've always thought like, one day I'm going to find some money in a book, but that's awesome.
Or I wonder if it was the book was a gift to someone and they put money in the book like as a cute surprise for when the person read the book or something, and the person never read the book. Maybe. And like got rid of it. But what a great find. I mean, I don't think we've ever found that much money. I found $1 in a jacket.
Yeah. I will tell you, these days, I rarely have cash on me. Right. You know? Like, I often can go weeks without ever having a single dollar bill on me because I just use my, my debit card. Well, actually, I use a credit card, and then so we can get points, and then we pay it off at the end of the month. But I never have cash, and it's almost kind of a pain in the butt when I have to have cash because it means I have to go find an ATM. Normally, there's a charge to take money out.
Look, I have cash because it's the summer and we sometimes run across yard sales. So I keep a wad of $1 bills.
So it's Ryan's our cash lady.
Because I have a purse, so I keep it in there. The things I've usually found have been, which I love to find, are receipts with dates on them. Right. Because that usually tells you the last time someone wore a jacket or used a purse. Yeah. And like... Or like, a box of old camera equipment. You'll see the original receipt for the camera from like 1976.
It's like a fun story.
Or you're like, oh my God, they bought it like 2 days before I was born. You know, like it's so weird when that happens. I love finding receipts. I think that's the most fun. But I've never found $200. That's for sure.
Now I know some people are going to think this is totally crazy, but yeah, like I feel like. Good or bad, we're going to get a time where you don't have to have a key. You don't have to have cash. Yep. You just like walk around and it's just like an eye scan or something like that.
A retina scan.
And that has access to your account, your money, and it also will open up doors and like basically start the car for you.
You're going to go to Walmart and put your thumbprint, and that's going to pay for everything. Well, when you walk out of the door, which is quite frightening, actually.
People that really know about that stuff say that's so easy to hack, but anyway.
Yeah, totally.
All right, enough
future talk.
Hi, this is Brett. I listen to your podcast all the time and enjoy it. And this last podcast, episode 266, you had a couple of things that you mentioned there that would like to just share with you. One has to do with the eBay coupon. I got a notice from eBay, an email in my messages from eBay that told me that I had the coupon. I didn't realize what it was, and I ignored it until I listened to your podcast last week, and then realized, hey, that's something I can use. And then I went back into my messages and found it, and was able to get to it without any problem and use it. So that was great. Appreciate that tip. But I did get notified of it. So I know some of us are getting notifications anyway. The other thing I thought I'd mention is I've been interested to hear you talk about your adventures in Amazon FBA. I've been an FBA seller for about 3 years now. And I sold about $200,000 last year, and it was all retail arbitrage. And retail arbitrage is a horrible way to do business, and I'm trying to phase out of it because the profit margins are really low. When you talk about selling items buying them for $4 and selling them for $9 or $10, that is never going to work. Your fees eat you alive. I really believe in the rule of thumb that you need to try to have at least 3 times profit over your cost of your product. And I try not to sell anything below $30 or more. Now, I do make an exceptions, like I found a bunch of baits at a tackle store for $1 each, and I sell them for about $13 a pop. But I realize that even selling them through FBA does not work. The fees still, I can't make any money. So I sell them merchant fulfilled, and because they're small and light, I can ship them first class, which Amazon won't do for you. And I can actually make money with the extra shipping that they charge the customer that Amazon charges them. So those are just a couple of things. Amazon FBA is not what everybody says it is. I'm looking into private label and some other things, but retail arbitrage is a total pain for what you get out of it. So hope you have a good day. Thanks.
So number one, I'm glad you figured out that coupon is something good because it's free money, really.
It's free shipping supplies.
I mean, right now, aren't you? I see that you have the boxes out. You're just using them.
I use them. Look, polymailers, right? Tape, plain boxes I can use for first class or like Smart Post or whatever. That's invaluable to me.
Now, those polymailers, did we buy enough to last for a quarter?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they gave me 100 of each, and think of how many things you sell in a month, and not every single one's going to go in a polymailer.
True.
Plus, there's like 3 different sizes.
Yep.
Oh, no, it's great.
So the other thing that you talked about, which I think is really interesting, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, now that we're actually selling on Amazon FBA and we kind of know how it works,
right?
And now we're talking about the specifics rather than me just hearing a YouTube video and being very skeptical. It's interesting. Guys like you are coming out and we're actually having this honest conversation. I find I find very few people say I love retail arbitrage. Now one thing is you said that you sell $200,000 worth of stuff is last year. I'm going to assume that that's gross profit, and I would love to hear what did you actually net.
What did you net out of that 200?
After all the expenses and fees and shipping, how much of that 200,000 actually is there? Because I mean that's the real key.
That's the real number.
And it seems like guys say, "Oh, I made $1 million," but I mean, again, I wonder how much they make. And we've seen people who really got into FBA kind of move back into eBay because the profit margins are so much higher.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. I agree on Amazon. I think a lot of the items we have up, we have our margins are too small.
Right.
Right. That is true. But, we're learning too.
Yeah.
And again, it's for us. We're still doing it the scavenger way, where we're just finding whatever we can find,
Yeah.
But I do like that, we're now starting to have a more honest conversation about FBA, And I would love to anyone who's hearing this, who everything I said does not apply, that you love retail arbitrage and you're making crazy money. I'd love to actually hear some actual numbers.
Yeah. It's all about the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Trash Shells. My name is Joshua. I'm from Arkansas, and I'm a mail carrier with the United States Postal Service. And I had some information from a fellow shipping nerd. Recently come onto your podcast, and I was going through all the old episodes to catch up and to answer some questions you guys had about FedEx Smart Post. The way that works when the USPS picks up the package from the doorstep, we take it to the post office, and FedEx and actually UPS even make trips to the post offices every day, and they pick up the packages that are supposed to be for them and drop off packages that is contracted with the Postal Service to deliver to the final mile thing. And so I just wanted you to know, when you send something FedEx Smart Post, we pick it up, hand it off to FedEx, they take it to the post office that it's going to, and then it's dropped off there, and the mail carrier actually delivers it to the final customer. Also, with those tracking number stickers that you found, those actually do work. I scan them every day. Any mail carrier that's doing its job properly will scan those when picked up or delivered. So just to give you some more information on those, and they are a great way of just getting some tracking to help out for eBay selling purposes. Also, I'm pretty new to the whole eBay selling thing, and I am a new seller, so I'm limited to 50 items per month, and I was wanting to get some advice from you guys to get cash flowing quickly. Should I fiddle with auctions? Should I lower pricing? Currently, I haven't sold a thing yet. I've only been doing it for a couple weeks, and I know that's a lot to ask, but I'd like to get the money rolling through, and I was just wondering if you guys had any advice for me. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, 3 things.
Okay, 3 things.
Number 1, FedEx Smart Post. We appreciate getting the confirmation from a real postal carrier.
Right.
Thank you for your service.
He saluted you, just so you know.
Telling us that it's okay to put it on our porch with all of our other packages.
Yes.
Our post office person picks it up, and then FedEx picks it up from the post office. So I think when we first started talking about this, people were confused, thinking like we had to have
FedEx pick it up,
and that we were doing at USPS a wrong,
right,
like a bad by doing that. But that's good to hear.
Yep. I use Smart Post all the time.
Yep.
Now it is a very, very good price.
Good.
I use it all the time.
Yeah, it's so interesting, but I guess it's good private company and
partnership.
Partnership. Now I have 2 hands clasping. The second thing is, it's good to hear about those tracking labels that we talked about, but I'm assuming you also mean that it works for packages. And I think the argument was, does it work for an actual
letter?
It's letter. And if you saw one of those tracking stickers on a letter, would it get sent back? Would you get charged extra? That kind of thing.
That's a question.
Number 3, you just got started. Welcome.
Welcome to the world of eBay.
Did you have a limited, you can only put 50 items up, so how did you start getting action happening?
Yeah.
I mean, some of it's just patience. I mean, the reason why there's a limit is because they don't want someone new jumping on, dumping all kinds of stuff on there. They want to see you have a reputation for treating customers right and listing stuff appropriately, etc. So, I mean, I would just, unfortunately, you got to be a little bit patient. So, a list of 50 items the best way that you can. Start to do is research. So when you list an item, type it in and see what other prices people are putting on it and learn to be competitive.
Right. Right.
I mean, and you can try auctions if you want. We're not really into auctions, but
it might not be a bad way to start moving some stuff and get some feedback and lift your limits.
Yeah.
If you're that new, I mean, you're a very new seller.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have.
But I mean, I guess the one thing you got to be careful of, and it's a balance. You're trying to get some sales going, but you don't want to be just selling stuff for dirt cheap where it's not even worth your time.
Right.
If you're selling stuff for $5, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's better to spend more time looking for quality items. And that's another thing that you should be doing is like when you're out there, if you're unsure if an item is worth trying to sell, take out your phone and scan it or just do a search. So that way you aren't just bringing home tons of junk.
Right.
Or bring home tons of junk and then sit in the middle of your floor and research everything and then give away half of it because it is junk,
Yeah. If you got it cheap enough, then that would be okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think any of us hearing this especially those of us that have sold for a long time, sometimes it's hard to remember when we first started.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we were just selling anything. We were selling clothes with holes in it just shoes.
Just anything.
And it would sell cheap, and you just get better at, like, I don't want to, like, spend so much time selling junk. I want to sell the stuff that sells for $100.
Right.
And then you just get better and better at it, It's not, I just don't believe that you can just get started and start to make a living within a month, like that kind of, it's like you got to give it yourself 6 months.
Right.
You need that long runway.
Right. Yep, I agree. Okay, that's it for this podcast. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discuss and to join the conversation. You can leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube so you always get the latest episode. You can listen to our other podcast where we talk about our Airbnb vacation rental business, and that's at shampooandbooze.com. You can even rent our vacation farmhouse, and we'll have dinner with you if you want. We don't have to have dinner with you.
And if anyone is still here, because I think sometimes when we probably kick into that, people stop.
They just end the podcast.
So maybe we need to have like a funny thing right at the very end, so people
just like at the end of movies where they keep you there,
or it's This American Life.
Right.
Tony Malatia says, "My head hurts." No, but if you're still here, we would love it if you have your manifesto like worked out in at your head, and if that manifesto is different from ours, like if you have a different idea of how you should sell on eBay, we would love to either hear it or for you to write it on the blog, because we're ready to learn.
We're always ready to learn.
So that's it. We're now ending
in 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Bye.